Howdy. We will start off here at the ESA Space Weather Service Network. And we scroll down a bit, take a look at the sun. There's a lot going on the sun. And there is probably something to be expected. A euphoria Earth. And I want to point out, which is really interesting and important to note, that every time if you go here on this page and you look at that, make sure you take a look at these numbers here, because they vary. Sometimes if you have a peak like this, it's only about 20 parts per million. But this time, we have more than 100, 110 maybe. The dotted line here is this very moment. So it may take some 24 hours still for this to hit Earth. Oh no. They call it cannibal CME because the first one gets catched up by the second one. And I think it's also the moon still behind Earth. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, the speed doesn't seem to be very fast, but that's just a forecast model. And I want to recall again, we are talking about the CME, or two CMEs hitting Earth, and I also think it's not only about the density, the polarity, or the speed, but it's also the actual material which is coming from the sun. How much iron is in the CME? How much aluminium? How much sulfur? Or is there always the exact mixture of material coming from the sun? I don't think so. It's just very, very hard to believe that it would be every time the exact same stuff. You know? I would expect fluctuations, variations, and different kinds of mixtures coming from the sun every time we have this kind of an event. Maybe the first CME doesn't contain much sulfur, the second does. Maybe the other way around. Maybe the sulfur doesn't have anything to do with the strength of the impact of the CME. But somehow it's... I somehow think that there has to be something about the sulfur and probably the aluminium too, which might intensify the whole thing. As we have seen in this welding paper about the sulfur content, how much deeper the laser or the welding beam penetrates into the metal. So why shouldn't anything similar or likewise happen when the CME with a lot of sulfur hits Earth? Maybe it has to do also with the polarity of the CME and stuff like that. It depends which materials are the most prominent, and according to the constituency of the CME, we could assume or measure the polarity. I don't know. So, this is what's coming in 24 hours approximately. And I found a very interesting page recently. And this is Yeah, a rather good start for. Just make a quick read through of the first page, and I will show you the first picture, and I will put a link below where you can read the rest if there's any interest. So now let's go to page. That's the page, and I have to say I really like it because you cannot do anything. There's like all like these kind of different moving parts here. It is what it is, but I really like these kind of pages. I think I can zoom in to some degree. SAO, NASA Astrophysics Physics Data System, ADS. Title, Lord Derwentwater's Lights, Prediction, and the Aurora Polaris Astronomers 1 or I, Background. Authors, Farah P. Journal of the History of Astronomy, page 239. Bibliographic record 1996. So now let's zoom out again. Here on the left side you can see the different pages. We are on page 1. This is with this one. And here you can scroll around on the pages. And here you can scroll around on the page itself. So this was made, obviously, in 1996. Lord Derwentwater's Lights, Prediction, and the Aurora Polaris. Patricia Farah, Darwin College, Cambridge. Babylon. Anyway, Tuesday, 6th March 1716 was a special day in England. Political diarists reported that military commanders had returned to London after quelling the Jacobite uprising, and the king agreed to an act for persecuting the rebels more speedily. But historical chronicles devoted far more attention to the evening's events. All over the country, people stayed up most of the night to watch a display of natural fireworks. An aurora borealis no one alive had ever witnessed over England. Has there been some auroral display in England recently? Yes. There has been an article somewhere where they said that there has been more auroras in England than for a long time. Last week. So it's now. But anyway. Yeah, and I expect to have some auroral display in England maybe tomorrow again. I might be wrong, but we will see. Maybe over the Alps too. Edmund Halley abandoned his dinner party, thrilled to complete his personal catalogue of celestial phenomena. Other gentlemen leapt out of bed in their night clothes to join the crowds awestruck by what they described as armies fighting in the sky, dripping showers of blood. Frightened servants thronged the streets, convinced that the day of judgment had arrived. John Pointer, a country clergyman, related how, at about 7 o'clock, a great light appeared in the sky. Then it formed several columns or pillars like pure flame, and afterwards darted violent flashes towards the southwest, which flew with the swiftness of lightning. So I want to point out that England is already rather south for having an auroral display in the first place. And here they say, afterwards, Violent flashes darted towards the southwest. So they went even more south. Now, think about that. Southwest, Southern America, South American magnetic anomaly. If you would just draw a very long line, southwest approximately. I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. At the same time, there appeared several colors like rainbows, with surprising coruscations. Sometimes they appeared sharp, and sometimes wavy, and in this manner continued till about 3 in the morning. Figure 1. Yeah, I told you. I will read the first page and I will show you the first picture. Figure 1 shows how Joachim Ramus, a mathematics professor at Copenhagen, represented a similarly spectacular aurora a few days later. Because he was Norwegian, he was familiar with the Northern Lights. His own uncle had written a book on the subject the previous year. But in southern England, this was an exciting and rare event. Yeah, this was boggling me all the time. I have to show you this. In order to somehow prove what I said about auroras in England. Because, yeah, someone could claim I just figured this out by myself. So that's just a quick, not whatever it is. At the apex of the November 25th storm, auroras were observed across northern Europe, visible to the naked eye despite nearly full moonlight. I didn't have much hope of seeing anything when suddenly the sky exploded, says Mats Olsson, who sent this picture from Hindås, in the south of Sweden. South Sweden, not north. It was quite a light show, he says. Wow. Photographic auroras visible to the camera but not to the eye descended almost to mid-latitudes. Today brought yet another photographic aurora here in the southeast of England at latitude 51 north. Reports Jamie McBean of Herne Bay. That's funny. McBean. Bean is a bean and Herne is a Finnish word for bean. But anyway, Kent, UK. This is my 14th aurora on camera this year, which I found incredible, considering I had never believed I could get anything from here a mere year ago. The 14th aurora in southern England, southeast England. Okay, that's a few days old. I will put a link to this below for you as well. Maybe that's from England, maybe not. I don't know. Let's go back to this other article. But in southern England, this was an exciting and rare event in 1716. Still horrified by the government's insistence on publicly executing 2 Jacobite leaders a few days earlier, people linked these political horrors with the celestial spectacles. In the Scottish lowlands, the name Lord Derwentwater lights endured for a couple of centuries, recalling how this popular young rebel's private stream had been stained red during an aurora in the eve of his death. Newspapers reported giants with flaming swords, fiery comets, dragoons, and the like dreadful figures. According to the evangelical natural theologian James Hervey, religious prophets looked upon it as a bloody flag hung out by divine resentment over a guilty world. These descriptions illustrate how people invest natural features with symbolic meanings, like images of landscapes, rainbows, or caves. These representations of the aurora were fashioned by the diverse contexts within which they were constructed. For exploring cultural conflicts, the aurora borealis is a particularly rewarding example to study because its incidence varies in time, but yes, I want to show you the picture. But let's read just until here. Also depends on geographical location. What is a common occurrence in the far north is only sporadically seen in latitudes nearer the equator. Remember, they described there were lights shooting southwest from England towards the equator, in other words. This double variation means that the aurora carries culturally specific symbolisms that arise from a unique interaction of natural events and local interpretations. It became, and continues to be, an unusual site of contested authority. So, I think there is something going on in Dublin. There's maybe a car burning or two. Tomorrow they get the auroras. But anyway, successive appearances of the aurora of 17th March in 1716 by Joachim Ramus from the 1745 Acta Societatis Havniesis, reproduced with permission from Ether Majestic Lights. I mean, look at this. There is an A and a B and maybe C's, I don't know. I actually have a picture of a cloud which in a way looks like this thing here. Maybe one day I'm gonna find it again. Look at that. I don't know. Maybe that's the Great Dipper up here. Maybe it's something else. But we seem to have some atmospheric layers. Yeah, I probably have to try to find the original pictures and the original descriptions to the pictures, what those letters mean. But I have to say, I am fascinated by these. They are very interesting. What are these? Which point down. These tips. Are we looking at vortices? Are these meteors? What's going on? I don't know. But someone drew the auroral display over England a long time ago. That's amazing. Yeah. Anyway, there is something coming from the sun. And English people might see some auroras tomorrow. Yeah, let's see what else is going down then. But anyway, I will put a link below to the things. You can check them out with your own time, make your own thoughts about these, make your own research. And yeah, very interesting times. Thanks. Bye.